This video is dedicated to Antonio Rouse. Antonio, thank you. Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose versus Bosh Iron Golem. With a hand that is questionable. Are we going to draw into anything that we actually care about? I don't think we are, so let's try again. Alright, that's a lot better. We will keep there. I think we have to get rid, much as I don't like it, yeah, we'll get rid of the Cabal Coffers. No, we won't. We'll get rid of Viscera Seer. I'm going to hope that we draw into lots of swamps. We are on the draw at least. Okay, there is another vampire straight away, so let's go for the Inquisition. And we'll see if we can, well, hopefully we don't make our opponent scoop, but we'll see if we can mess up their day. Oh wow, they've got just an Icy Manipulator and a bunch of lands after this, so we'll get rid of the Hedron Crawler, and they can crawl their way up to the Icy Manipulator. The lands don't match either, so it'll be easy to keep track of what they've played out. Okay, so they've played that land, and then it is a Mannequin, so plenty of Mana Rocks in this deck apparently. We know what they've drawn into there. Patron of the Vein, keep getting into high-end stuff. Let's go for the Blood Burglar. And then likely going in for our commander next turn. There is that Icy Manipulator. So 2 lands in hand, and then something else. We've got ourselves a Toxic Deluge. Let's go for our commander and we'll swing in at them for 4 points of damage, thanks to the 2 lifelink. Need another swamp so that we can get down that Vampire Nocturnus now. And we can start to try and make the Cabal Coffers relevant. A Clone Shell now, they will imprint something onto that, and when it dies, if it's a creature card, you put it into play under your control. Obviously we have no idea what that card actually is. And still no land for us, still no swamp, so we'll just play the Cabal Coffers. Play the Staff of the Death Magus. Start trying to drain our opponent. And then let's see what's under this Clone Shell. We'll go for it now. Actually, we'll force our opponent to swing in at us. If they're eager to swing in at us, it's obviously something that they want. And I don't mind taking 2 points of damage for a little while. A Workshop Assistant. When it dies, return another artifact from graveyard to hand. They are swinging in with that thing, so they're obviously eager to kill it off. We will take the 2. Alright, and we get into another swamp, so that means we will gain a life and drain our opponent. And then we can actually afford Patron of the Vein here, but I wonder if it's worth going Vampire Nocturnus first and flying over, or attempting to fly over our opponent's stuff. Yeah, let's try it. We need a black permanent on top here. And we do not. We've got Metallic Mimic. Okay, unfortunately the Workshop Assistant has 2 toughness. If there was a couple of 1/1s, I would actually take out 2 of their creatures blocking the Blood Burglar. But because there's potential for this to deal so much more damage with the Nocturnus, I will just pass the turn over here. And we'll hope that we've got a black permanent on top of our library next turn. Cryptolith Fragment now. At the beginning of your upkeep, if each player has 10 or less life, you transform it. So I don't think that's something we need to worry about currently. They swing in at us for 2 with the Clone again. And again, we're just going to take it. Alright, well, we're not doing too well on the land or black cards on top front, are we? I think here we'll go in for Patron of the Vein and put a plus counter on all of our creatures. Alright, they are tapping the Vampire Nocturnus, not really bothered about that. And we're going to blow up that Workshop Assistant so they can take the Hedron Crawler back if they want to. But at least they're not getting this thing back when it dies. So whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it gets exiled. And we get a plus counter on all of our stuff, which means we are comfortably going to swing in here. We'll gain 3 life from the Blood Burglar, which is a further 3 points onto our opponent. And we've got a couple of chances of actually getting a black card on top next turn, because we'll be able to shuffle up with Solemn Simulacrum. Another creature has died because the mannequin blocked, so that's another couple of plus counters on our stuff. And taking our opponent down to 18. In fact, if we've got a black card on top next turn after we draw, we just put our ability on Vito and give all of our stuff lifelink, because it will have flying from the Vampire Nocturnus as well as a 2-1 buff. So that should be enough to take them out next turn. Going for the Hedron Crawler, which they drew into last turn from the graveyard. And then the moment of truth, let's see. The bad luck continues. That is 3 colourless creatures in a row. Or 3 colourless cards, that is. Let's go for tapping out like that. We'll just go for the Solemn Simulacrum. And we'll attempt to get a black card on top. They are going for Icy Manipulator onto our big creature. I think if we get a black card on top, we might still have enough to take them out. Oh, although we can't give lifelink now, can we? Thanks to having to cast this. We'll get a land into play finally, at least, from the Solemn Simulacrum. And still more colourless stuff on top. We did drain our opponent there at least. Let's go for the Metallic Mimic. We will name Vampire. And once again, keeping our fingers crossed for a black card on top. Might be next turn we can just go in for Vito, whether we get the buff on Vampire Nocturnus or not. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So yeah, we just swing in with everything. If they tap this down, then we can just deal lifelink damage to them and take them out of the game. So yeah, I think we've got them here. Again, they will swing in with that thing, and again, we're just going to take it. Alright, finally. Finally getting into a black spell on top, so we do get that buff after all. So, just for the fun of it, hopefully our opponent allows it, I'll quickly give everything lifelink. And then all of our vampires have flying, +2/+1, and lifelink. So we swing in here. They can block the Solemn Simulacrum because it's not a vampire. But we win there. Yeah, our opponent scoops it up. We were going to deal I don't know how much damage to them in the air. And then even if they did survive that, these effectively have double strike because of the lifelink and our Vito. So yeah, not the flashiest of games there. I dare say, in an attempt to show off a combo win, which I don't think we've done on the channel yet, I'll try and show you yet another one. Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose versus Alela Artful Provocateur. With a half-decent hand, we'll keep that. We can disrupt them on turn 1. And go in for one of our cheap vampires after that. So we just need to hope, basically, that they don't scoop to early hand disruption. Go for the Thoughtseize. All that glitters, what is Demonic Vigor? That's another aura. I think... yeah, they can make us get rid of Sorin Markov. We'll get rid of all that glitters so that we don't have to worry about any kind of commander damage, or we're less likely to worry about commander damage anyway. Argument to be made for the Arcane Signet so that they are behind a turn. But all that glitters is the worrying one there. Then we get into another land, so we are... what are we going to go for? Let's go for the Blood Burglar because we're more likely to be able to swing in with that. Might be that they get a 1 power creature into play that can kill off Child of the Night. They've drawn into a tap land, so we know one of the cards that they've drawn into at least might be a more casual build if they are running gates as opposed to shock lands and things like that. So we'll play the Child of the Night because that will be able to swing in next turn and we'll deal some additional damage to our opponent once Vito comes into play, assuming that we go for that next turn. Swing in and gain a little bit of life, go back up to 30. Take our opponent down to 28. And now they go for the planes that we know about. So likely going in for the Arcane Signet. There we are. And then it is Favourable Winds, which obviously buffs all of the tokens that they will make. Likely to see their commander next turn. We will go for... yeah, Cabal Stronghold isn't going to do us any good for now. So we'll go for our commander. And then we're still a couple of turns off getting our Sorin Markov down because Cabal Stronghold does take 3 to activate. These two hit our opponent for 2 damage apiece, lifelink damage, so kind of have double strike with our commander in play, knocking our opponent down to 20 now. And there we are. Alela, Artful Provocateur, has a +1/+1 buff along with lifelink and death touch. And we've got a Tormod's Crypt as well. We do have a tiny little bit of graveyard interaction in this deck, but I'm not too worried about getting that off. Alright, Expedition map. Do we just want to go for Cabal Coffers this turn? Then we can get down Sorin Markov next turn. It might be that they go for discard on us next turn, but yeah, we'll get down the Cabal Coffers anyway, I think. Certainly not going to swing in with this board. And it might actually be that they go for the Damnation anyway if we keep hold of that. So we might be able to minus down on Sorin Markov, take their life total down to 20, and then swing in for the rest of the damage. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So let's go for the Cabal Coffers now, and we'll pass the turn over to our opponent. So not going to swing in because we've got big creatures in the way. Demonic Vigor going on to Alela now. That is +1/+1, and when it dies, return it to its owner's hand. And then they are swinging in with just a fairy, not swinging in with this, surprisingly, so trying to keep themselves at a high life total, seemingly, or a higher life total than they would have if we were allowed to swing in. They will go for that drill bit, because they were able to deal damage with a fairy. Do you go for the Damnation or the Sorin Markov? Yeah, correctly going for the Sorin Markov, I think. They'll be able to rebuild more easily than we will, although they've only got 1 card in hand themselves. Going for Frogify. Alright, well that encourages us to go for the Damnation then, doesn't it? And then we will swing in for some lifelink damage. We're going to wipe the board here anyway, because our opponent is empty-handed. And we do have a Lightning Greaves, so yeah, we'll be able to get some haste on the go. Might as well gain some life before we wipe the board. And they might as well block here, because surely they know that we're going to Damnation this turn. No, taking it surprisingly. So going down to 15, now we will Damnation. And Alela will go back into their hand. They don't have haste though. We are going to have haste, but yeah, I don't know how useful it's going to be to us. It's protection from spot removal at least. We'll put Vito back in the command zone. Then go for the Greaves, ready for our commander next turn. Just maybe hoping for a combo win at this point, because we've been slowed right down. We haven't gotten into any card draw. Yeah, so there's every chance that our opponent wins this one, depending on our top decks. They've drawn into Sigarda's Aid, so any auras that they draw into, they'll be able to cast at instant speed. And wouldn't you know, it's just another land for us. So let's go for our commander while they don't have any spot removal held up. And then we'll play out the land. I'm not going to bother holding up the land and pretending that we've got something in hand. We're both in top deck mode here, and our opponent's in a much better position than we are. Swinging in with both might be that they end the turn with an untapped fairy. Yeah, and I'm not gonna... and there you go, there's the Tormod's Crypt becoming relevant there. Yeah, the lifelink is becoming relevant as well. This is why I want to combo out potentially. Yeah, I'm not going to swing in here because they can play an aura at instant speed or an equipment, and they'll get a fairy out of that, and they'll likely be able to kill off our Vito. So, alright, well, not doing it at the end step, so maybe they didn't have an aura after all. Or maybe they're just saving it. No, getting into their own Lightning Greaves, so even if we do manage to get rid of Alela, they'll be able to bring it back in with haste. That gets equipped to a fairy immediately, so we will be eating 9 points of damage here. Okay, Dusk Legion Zealot, let's try and get into something with that. We'll lose a life and draw a card with the Dusk Legion Zealot. And they did hold priority there, so it might be that they've got a counter spell. Okay, Drana, I mean it's better than nothing. Unfortunately, we are 1 mana away from giving that lifelink. Yeah, it looks like they've got counter magic here. It is a counter spell, getting rid of Drana, and I probably would use the Patriarch's Bidding there. But like I said, we don't have the mana unfortunately, so let's just go in for one. We know that they don't have any shenanigans with their Alela because they don't have any cards in hand. Cleared a card off the top at least, and we got rid of a counterspell from them. A Coastal Piracy, so they get into the card draw before us. Only one land, but it might be that they draw into a land to play this turn. I don't think they've played a land. Anyway, tapping out the fairy that came in this turn, so we might be able to swing in with Drana next turn, although I don't know how much it's going to help us. Drawing 4 cards, because 4 creatures have hit us. And there we go, they do make another land, but not playing on our turn, going for Blind Obedience. Yeah, that's probably us done, unless we can get into a combo. Viscera Seer. I think we go Viscera Seer, sacrifice a few creatures, and then go for Patriarch's Bidding. Yeah, I think that's okay. So let's tap the mana first of all. Try and take ourselves closer to a combo. So we'll sacrifice the Zealot first of all. And it is a land on the bottom. Then sacrifice our commander. And we will not return it to the command zone because we're going to bring it in with the Patriarch's Bidding. There we go. Exquisite Blood. So what to do here? Can we activate our commander and play Exquisite Blood next turn? Well, we definitely want that on top to draw into anyway. Let's go for the Patriarch's Bidding. Obviously, we are bringing back vampires. I don't know if our opponent... No, they don't have any creatures in the bin because they get them all from their commander. Oh, but we're down to 6. I didn't realise we were at such a low life total. Yeah, that feels bad. Oh well, we were close. We'll let our opponent swing in for the victory. I will tap out to show our opponent that we don't have anything, so hopefully they'll just swing in here. Yeah, that was a pretty close one. Our opponent managed to stabilise nicely there. And going for Yennet, when they've got the win on us, I will give them one more shot at taking us out here. Otherwise, we'll just have to scoop it up. Now, equipping the Yennet with the Lightning Greaves, hopefully they go through to combat here. They do. And then just swinging in with a couple of creatures, we'll just scoop it up there because there was no reason to play the Sphinx. They just had to turn things sideways. But there we go. Our opponent gets us fair and square. Yeah, one more turn and we would have had them there. Let's see if we were anywhere close to a land. We were. So it would have been... I mean, maybe we could have made more mana with the Cabal Stronghold. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that during the edit. But yeah, Exquisite Blood. We have an opponent lose some life. I don't even know if we could have gotten through to our opponent, to be honest. But if we could, we swing in at them for 1 point of damage and then go infinite with our commander and the Exquisite Blood. Wasn't to be this time, so we'll have to try another game. I think this one was quite quick, so we'll have another go at it. Vito Thorn of the Dusk Rose versus Syr Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale. And that is nowhere near fast enough, because I imagine our opponent's got a bunch of Mana Rocks in hand. Alright, that's better. We'll keep that. Get rid of a swamp. And we'll aim to get down a Charcoal Diamond on turn 2. Start things off with Vampire of the Dire Moon, I imagine. Our opponent starts things off with a Foulmire Knight. That is a 1-1 with Death Touch. We start things off with Dark Ritual. Do we want to go for Dark Ritual now? That will leave us with 3 mana if we go in for Charcoal Diamond and the Vampire. Yeah, 3 mana next turn we'll have. Yeah, I think we'll just slow roll it out for now because we might want to use the Dark Ritual to get into Necropotence or a combo piece or something. A Scryland now from our opponent. Then going in for the first tutor of the game, the Steel Shaper's Gift. And they get themselves a Sword of the Animist, one of the only ways to ramp with lands in Mardu. It is another swamp for us. And speaking of ramp, we'll go in for the Charcoal Diamond. Our opponent decides to play the Sword of the Animist. Doesn't look as though they've got a land, so I dare say they're going for an equip and a swing in with that next turn. We get into Bloodline Necromancer, which we'll be able to afford next turn, so are we just going to go for Dark Ritual into both Bloodghast and Vito now? I think we'll just go in for the Vito. I don't think we're too desperate to get out Bloodghast. And then if our opponent decides to swing in with this thing next turn, which they probably will, we'll block with the Vampire of the Dire Moon that has Death Touch and Lifelink. And we'll be able to bring it back out again next turn with the Bloodline Necromancer. And they will lose their creature, so yeah, we'll just hold back here. I dare say they are going to swing in because they're clearly not drawing into lands. Going straight in for the equip. And then getting straight into the red zone. And hopefully they've got some 3 mana ramp in hand. They've got all their colours available now. And like I said, we'll block with the Vampire of the Dire Moon. Then that gains us a life. We'll ping our opponent. We go up to 31. And it's just another land for us, so we'll keep playing swamps. Let's go for the Bloodline Necromancer and grab that Vampire of the Dire Moon back out of the graveyard. Then we'll swing in for a point of commander damage, and that can be our turn. Playing out a Forbidding Watchtower, which can become a 1/5 soldier, so yeah, that's a man land. Activate it for 2 mana. They get down the Knight Exemplar, which is a favourite of mine in the Knight deck. Yeah, but we're just drawing into swamps, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe we just swing in with everything here. Yeah, we can swing in with the 2 lifelinkers that we've got. I don't mind them blocking either or, but we do need to start getting some damage onto our opponent. Alright, surprisingly... Oh, it's got first strike. Completely forgot about the first strike on that. Alright, so we lose a vampire for no reason. We don't even gain life here. Ugh, that feels bad. So that obviously goes down. We gain 1 point of life. This didn't deal any damage thanks to the first strike that I forgot about. So we'll just go in for Bloodghast, which can't block. And I imagine that Knight Exemplar is coming back in at us next turn. Need to start drawing into something other than lands. Got plenty of mana now. Getting into another Lord. That is other knights you control get +1/+1, so these each make each other a 3/3. And then a further +1/+1 from Sword of the Animist. This is indestructible thanks to the first Lord. So they can swing in here. There's no decent blocks that we can make. So we'll just have to allow them to ramp and let this through. Okay, Staff of the Death Magus is a means of us... Yeah, I wish I'd saved a swamp now. That's a means of us getting into some more drain at least. But yeah, we're really doing nothing here. Just treading water at the moment, so we'll play out the Nykthos. And let's just pass the turn again. Now it is Sword of Light and Shadow. That is protection from pretty much every creature in our deck. I think we've got a Solemn Simulacrum. We might have a couple of other artifact creatures that I can't remember. But yeah, that's pretty much protection from our deck now, so we're going to have to start gaining life and dealing some damage to our opponent. Probably have to combo off this game if we can. We've got the mana for it, so a tutor will do. And they will gain some life. They will get back into their 1 mana knight. 1/1 with Death Touch. Okay, that might be alright. Yes, Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. Although, do we want to wait on that? Yeah, we might want to wait on that, unfortunately. It's just going to die to this thing when it swings in, so... Yeah, unfortunately, we'll have to wait on Sorin. Another shooter from them. That's exactly the type of effect that we could do with. Like I said, need to get into one of our combo pieces. They get to search for an aura or an equipment. And they've gone for another sword. This time it is the Sword of Fire and Ice. So they want to start shocking things. They can play and equip it. And that's exactly what they do. Just turning the Knight Exemplar into a Voltron card. That is now an 8/8 with protection from all colours except for green with First Strike. And we'll just let that through, we don't have a choice. Then they're going to shock something. They'll gain some life, draw a card, and get a creature back out of their graveyard. They don't have a creature in the graveyard, but going for the shock on the Death Toucher. Alright, there we go. So, we can actually win this turn, I think. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life, and we can go wide on them. I think we might actually be able to have them lose life with this. Yeah, let's see. We'll go for the Dark Ritual. That will drain our opponent. We could actually have them lose life just by casting a black spell. But I wouldn't mind getting the Sorin into play. Add some black mana with the Nykthos. Go in for Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. Drain our opponent again. And then we go in for Exquisite Blood. And we're going to sacrifice our Bloodghast with the Sorin. That will drain our opponent for 3. And we'll go Infinite, assuming that they can't remove our Vito or the Exquisite Blood. They are tapped out, so I doubt they can. So let's +1 sacrifice a Vampire. And then we'll drain our opponent for 3. And that is where we go Infinite with our Commander, as well as the Exquisite Blood. And there you go. So Magic Online doesn't tend to crash with this one, it just does the whole combo for you, which makes it one of the easier to perform infinite combos on Magic Online. Typically they don't do that, they just bug out and crash on you. But yeah, didn't think we were going to get anywhere then. We were just drawing into lands pretty much the whole game. Yeah, another few lands there. So yeah, without the Exquisite Blood we weren't really doing anything in that one. I think that's a good way to end the video, so hopefully you all enjoyed this visit to Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Be sure to leave it a comment and thumbs up if you did. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for